Thank you for coming, everyone. My name is Jeremy Capone. I am the wellness chef here.
And I'm Stephanie Gladman, the registered dietitian. We have a wonderful class in store for you today. As the season gets, or the weather gets warmer, summer is on its way, and I'm sure just as much as I love barbecuing and grilling, so do you. And so today's class is really going to focus on kind of tips on grilling safely. One of the most common questions that Jeremy and I get asked is it safe? And people ask about the link between cancer risk and grilling. And so just kind of starting off today with a little bit of information around the subject regarding the fact that at the moment we don't have grounded scientific evidence to showcase that grilling meat specifically increases the risk of cancer. However, we do know that there are two potential cancer-causing chemicals that occur when you're grilling meat, poultry, or fish at very high temperatures. Okay, and this type of high temperature can burn the fat, which causes these carcinogens. And these can damage your cells, which may increase the risk of cancer. So, although it is a great way to enjoy food, we do want to make sure that we're doing it safely. And we're going to focus on the first recipe that looks at grilling away from that flame, but also marinating your proteins, such as the meat, the fish, and the poultry.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So for the first recipe, we are going to be using fish. Great protein to use. And everything, obviously we don't have a barbecue, we're inside. They wouldn't allow it here, but we're doing it sort of over like a cast iron grill, everything we do today. If you did it at home, whether it's indoors or outdoors, I think these are good tips. I mean, you still enjoy barbecuing. I mean, we don't want to make anyone like terrified of barbecuing. It's still a great way to cook, but I think these are some really, really good tips to just make it a little bit better. And for this fish recipe, we're going to start off with a marinade.
Yes.
And this marinade is really, really simple. We're just using olive oil and lemon juice, but the key here is the lemon juice.
Yeah,
right?
so many research studies indicate that marinating your meat, your fish, or your poultry for at least 30 minutes in a citrus type of marinade, so that's using either lemon, lime, oranges, can decrease the amount of potential cancer-causing chemicals. Okay, so really important because they prevent the formation of them. And Jeremy will kind of guide us through a technique to use in a recipe that makes our food tasty.
Yeah, so we're using a very, very simple lemon juice, a little bit of olive oil, and a pinch of salt. Any citrus will work.
Yes,
here, right?
yeah. So like I said, orange, lemon, lime, and it's really the antioxidants found in those citrus-containing foods that really block or protect the meat, right? So basically what you're wanting to decrease is that flame from the barbecue, from kind of burning the fats found in animal-based proteins like chicken, beef, and fish. Okay, so that citrus marinade will help decrease that formation of those carcinogens when the heat comes into contact with the food.
Plus, it's just a great way in general to add more flavor. So one thing to keep in mind is when we're using a citrus marinade or any citrus, anything acidic with fish, is that it over time is going to start to change the texture of that fish a little bit. So for all the other meats, poultry, you want to do 30 minutes. With the fish, we don't want to go too long, otherwise it's going to change the texture. So what we say is about 15 minutes max with the fish. And then we're going to actually add an extra layer of protection on there. So I'm just going to throw it into that marinade.
Yeah. So again, if you're cooking away from the flame. So sometimes people use like cedar planks, right, on the grill. Or Jeremy's going to show us another technique to help, again, to protect that food, which is the fish in this case, but
Yeah.
it could it could be chicken, it could be any type of red meat like beef or steak, veal, something like that.
So we're going to use zucchini. And we're going to create these little strips of zucchini to sort of wrap the fish. And like Steph said, you can do it with chicken as well. And that's going to, not only is going to give us that layer of protection, we're adding veggies. It's like, you know,
Yes.
we're eating veggies, so that's a little added bonus.
Right.
And it's also almost giving us that almost like non-stick barrier as well. So I don't know if anyone's tried grilling fish directly onto a barbecue. It can be a little challenging. Sometimes it falls apart, it flakes apart. So this will actually keep it together as well. So not only is it preventing that charring, but it's adding a great non-stick barrier.
And another, thing to note is that the research shows that there's no cancer-causing chemicals that occur from when you're grilling meatless food, such as vegetables, fruit, like a tofu or a tempeh. So this is something that you don't need to worry about. And we're not adding extra fat here as well, right? So you don't need to use extra oil or whatever for the non-stick, because as Jeremy said, the zucchini itself will act as kind of that non-stick element.
Yeah. So pretty simple to do. If you have a vegetable peeler at home or carrot peeler, does anyone not have one? Okay, so everyone's ready. So, all right, so vegetable peeler. So this is like we call this a Y peeler, where the blade is across, but they even have like the long ones, the ones that go sort of north to south. Either one will work. And what you want to do is just peel, keep it flat, and peel the zucchini. The first strip is a little bit thin. We're going to use it for the rest of our recipe. But then the next ones, we're starting to get these beautiful like ribbons, right? And we'll
If you
start to
didn't
get a
have
little
a peeler,
thicker.
could you use a knife just to kind of slice it thin?
If you can cut them this thin with a knife, then you better open up a restaurant because you're that good. A mandolin, if you have a mandolin, that would work really well. But I think this is probably the easiest.
Okay.
And it's just a peeler, and you can kind of just wash it and you're good to go. So these beautiful little strips, these are really nice in a salad too. You can kind of toss them in a dressing. I'm going to dunk them into this marinade as well, just to sort of coat them a little bit, and it'll just make it a little bit easier to wrap. And then I'll take a few, and depending on the size of the piece of fish, just try to make it close to that size.
So you're kind of layering one on top of the other.
Yeah, so I'm kind of overlapping a little bit. Is that clear for everyone?
Jeremy, should the fish not have the skin on it, or?
You can do it with the skin on, but my general rule of thumb is if that skin is not going to be crispy, then I don't bother with it. So I usually take it off.
And generally speaking, you'd want to remove that. That's more where kind of more fat and kind of, I wouldn't remove that yet.
Okay, so we put the piece of fish on. There we go. Piece of fish on. I've got my little ribbons, right, like this. And we're going to just roll it. There we go. With the oil, it becomes a little bit slippery, but. And then just kind of wrap it up like this and like that. So we have this kind of like this little package, right?
Yeah. And we've done this before in the past using like grapevine leaves.
Grapevine leaves.
Yeah.
And you can use cabbage as well.
Eggplant, like if you slice it as well, right? So any type of vegetable, that you kind of have around or that you want to use that is able to roll,
Absolutely.
You can use that as well.
And so you can do this per piece of fish, or you can even do it with a big length and just kind of lay them on top. But the idea here is now that fish is protected from direct contact on the grill. Okay, so when we're ready to put it on the grill, Let's put it directly on top. And we want to get some grill marks. We actually want the heat to penetrate through to cook the fish, because we want to make sure that the fish is cooked all the way through. What Stephanie mentioned before is you can do this a couple ways. You can start it, the way I like to do it, start it over the heat. We don't need an aggressive heat, like a medium heat is good, just to get a little bit of the color on top. And this is a good general rule of thumb if you're cooking any meats on top of the barbecue. Have the other side of the grill off. And what you do is, as soon as you grill it, like a minute per side, it's not going to be fully cooked all the way through, but what we're going to do is we're going to push it to the side of the grill where there's no heat, and we're going to close the lid. And so now what we're doing is we're creating indirect heat, almost like this convection. So the heat's going to stay inside the barbecue. You're still going to get that like barbecue flavor, but we're not going to be at risk of flare-ups because there's actually no flame underneath the product.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to be on for us on this grill inside. We're cooking it inside. It's about 3 minutes per side.
Yeah, and another thing to keep in mind is adding vegetables, plant-based foods as much as possible is always something that we recommend. We know that for prevention and cancer survivors, a plant-based diet is recommended. One of those reasons we're looking at is because of those phytonutrients, right? So those are found in all the different colors. So zucchini, you're getting that green phytonutrient there. And that really helps block and protect those, or block cancer formation, right? So it's helping prevent those. So any color really is a clue to the different phytonutrient that you're using. So really making sure that you're getting or adding color whenever possible.
Okay, so while that's on the grill, it sounds really good. We're gonna make the pairing. So we're gonna do a zucchini gazpacho. So this is almost like a chilled zucchini soup. If you're not a big fan of soup, like chilled soups, it's actually really nice and cooling and hydrating, especially when it does get a little bit warmer outside. So this maybe is one you can give a shot. And what I did ahead of time is I just grilled the zucchini. Again, because it's a vegetable, we're not as concerned with the grill marks on there. So you can go ahead and give it some grill marks. Overdoing it, even though it's not as much of a risk, it will give sort of a bitter flavor. Yeah, so you don't want to char it completely.
And so I know that you usually tend not to use any oil.
Yes.
So
yeah. So when I grill vegetables, I don't put any oil on top. I usually just try to put it on dry, and then I'll add a little bit of olive oil or seasoning afterwards.
Yeah, and again, that comes back to any type of oil, right? They all have different smoke points, which can lead to the oil, changing its structure and becoming carcinogenic, so a cancer-causing chemical. So in these cases, that's why you really want to make sure that you're not putting oils on very high heats, right? Different oils have different smoke points, but you don't need to add it as you're actually doing the grilling in the barbecue.
Yeah, and this is also, when you're making those ribbons, when you get down to the middle, it's going to be a little challenging to actually start peeling. You can throw all those scraps into the soup. It's a good way to sort of use up all those little bits and pieces. So we're going to put the zucchini in a blender. I'm going to add some spinach as well. We're adding more veggies, but the spinach is going to give it this really, really nice kind of vibrant green color. You can use fresh or you can use frozen. I've done it with both, and they both work really, really well. So either way, put that in. I'm going to add some fresh basil. It's delicious. You can add mint, whatever nice herbs you like. That's just going to give it some nice pop. Because this is a chilled soup, we're not actually cooking it after this point. All those flavors from the fresh herbs are going to actually stay intact. So we're not at risk of sort of losing that. So some basil in there. Garlic. This is optional. If you don't like garlic, you don't have to add it. I love garlic, but I'm only using 1 clove, holding back. But you can use as much as you want. Because it is raw, and we're not cooking the garlic, it will have that heat. It will be pretty intense. So maybe start with one.
So again, for some people, that might not be the best choice in terms of adding flavor, but again, we're using lots of other things. So if you're experiencing like reflux or any type of digestive issues, maybe that's one of those things that you just avoid.
And we're going to add some yogurt as well. This is going to just add some nice creaminess to it. All right, so we'll season it, just a little bit of salt and pepper. We should have made these things closer to me. I'm like reaching all over the place. Anyways, black pepper in there. And you can add just water on top. It's fantastic, you're getting a lot of the flavor. Or if you want to add some stock, some vegetable stock for some extra flavor, you can do that as well. This is just sort of like a vegetable, like a miso-based veggie stock. Make. So we're going to add that in. I may need more water depending on how thick it is.
So do you want it to be thick or?
It's really up to you. I like this a little bit on the thinner side, but if you like more of like a thicker soup, then you can sort of adjust it. You do not have to follow this recipe as is. I rarely measure anything. You could just see I was throwing everything in here. So sort of that's why you have some water nearby, and then you can kind of adjust as you need. Oh wait, I forgot something. Lemon. The acidity from the lemon and the freshness from the lemon will brighten sort of everything up. I know we talk about this a lot. So like salt acts as a flavor enhancer. It actually does not add flavor to your dishes. It just enhances whatever is already in it. Acidity from citrus acts in the exact same way. So you are getting lemon flavor, but the lemon is also going to enhance all the other flavors around it. So it's a nice way to play with some of those acids to help with the flavor. All right. Was boring. Okay.
So just, sorry, two tips that I want to talk about. So one is that the iron that's found in spinach isn't as easily absorbed in your body as an iron that's coming from like a animal-based food. So pairing it with any type of food that has vitamin C, so like lemon, is something that you want to pair together. So good that we added that together.
Yeah, great point.
We didn't plan that, but happy you did that. And then the other thing is, like Jeremy said, hydration. So in the summer months, it's really hot. We might be sweating, losing a lot of liquid in our body from sweating. You definitely want to replace that. So when we talk about fluid intake, generally, depending on what your needs are, let's say about 2 liters a day, but the fluid doesn't have to be just water. You can infuse your water with lemon or lime or mint, etc. Or just noting that soups, smoothies, any type of juice, milk or milk alternative can also count as your fluid for the day.
Beautiful. Okay, so the fish is, so I did one a little bit earlier, but it's done. And so you have a little bit of the grill marks on top. And the zucchini stays nice and intact, and it actually adheres to it, which is really, really nice. And I mean, you can serve it whichever way you want. This is just the way I'm serving it.
And I guess you can't really see, like, because you're not flaking the fish, so you'd put a thermometer in just to make sure that you're heating it to appropriate temperature.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point. If you can, flaking the fish, when it flakes apart easily, you know it's done, it's cooked all the way through. Otherwise, a food thermometer is just a good thing to have on barbecue. But that's the first recipe, yeah. Zucchini Gazpacho.